In 1900, the average life expectancy in the United States was less than 50 years. By the time Social Security was enacted in 1935, it had risen to 61.7 years. Now it's closer to 80 years. As we age, we become more susceptible to debilitating illnesses such as cancer, Parkinson's disease, and Alzheimer's. We become weaker, more frail, and more confused. Stay tuned as we explore the question, who will take care of us as we age? Hello, I'm Susan Mann, and I will be your host today. I'm very pleased to welcome Lois Tage, the Director of Geriatric Care Management at the law offices of Roy Litherland in Campbell, California. Lois holds a master's in education specializing in counseling and psychotherapy and a Bachelor of Science in Education from Boston University. She is a certified senior advisor. Lois has worked in the Bay Area as an instructor at West Valley College and maintained a private practice in counseling for many years. Lois has also worked with the Alzheimer's Association for 13 years as a facilitator for caregiver groups. Lois, you are eminently qualified to answer the question, who will look after us as we age? Tell us about your work.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you so much for inviting me to come here today, Susan. I do all types of work with seniors, whether it is in the hospital, whether it is at home, and I often, we represent ourselves as advocates. If you need us, call us, and we're there to help make it easier to keep you home safely.
To be honest, Lois, most of us would probably like to live independently in our own homes as long as possible, kind of age in place, so to speak. How many people are actually able to achieve this?
Well, believe it or not, 80% of seniors do remain in their own home. That's not to say they remain without help. Oftentimes they need a caregiver, either part-time or full-time, but most people would prefer to live in their own home. However, that's not always possible.
Now, what could happen to make it no longer possible? What are the events or triggers which would require that we move out of our homes?
Well, for instance, if someone has a stroke or they should fall, I really hope that people will realize that it is so important to do what is necessary to make your home safe. And those are some of the triggers that will start the ball rolling if someone should fall, end up in the hospital, have a stroke, and cannot go home.
Oh. So, you know, what tips can you give us for staying independent as long as possible?
Well, I always tell my clients the first thing is please pick up your scatter rugs. Scatter rugs are probably close to the number one reason why people do fall and break a limb. And it is documented, and so we ask you all to pick up your scatter rugs except for the one in front of your shower. And for most of us who have one in front of the kitchen sink, that should go too. Also put in grab bars when they're necessary, and put them in not only in the bathroom, near the commode, but at the exits, front and back doors.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good suggestion. Do most people do any planning for the day when they cannot live independently in their own homes?
Very few. Very few do. Occasionally we will get someone who will say, what do I need to do to prepare? And I always say, make sure that your legal paperwork is in order. That is a must.
I see. Now, is it usually left to the family to select a place for the seniors to go?
Depending on the senior's mental capacity. If somebody has Alzheimer's, obviously the family is going to be the one to suggest. If it is not, if there is just a question, of where I should go because I can no longer take care of my large home, or there are steps, then perhaps the senior gets more involved in making the decision as to where to go.
What would be some of the differences between what a senior would select for herself versus what the family would select for them?
Well, in my experience, what I have found is families always look for something pretty and want to keep the same lifestyle. My suggestion is you look for the best care, what is being offered, and there's many different ways to do that.
I see. By the best care, you mean the best nursing care, or?
It could be nursing care. You might be in a facility, for instance, if you go to an assisted care, they have small ones, they have large ones. Small ones are a little bit more intimate. If you are not a very social person and you really don't like to be in crowds of people, then maybe a small assisted care would work better than a large one.
Oh, I see. Now, in my own family, my sister became increasingly worse after a stroke, and they made up their mind to move to a senior facility within a space of like 2 weeks. It was very traumatic for her and for the family. So what usually happens when there's no planning done at all?
Chaos.
Oh.
Absolute chaos, because nobody knows quite where to go. They're not familiar with the services. They're not familiar with the different levels of care, all of those things. And then there are people who are gerontologists who can help, geriatric care managers who can help, which is what we do, and step in and try to organize and give everybody some direction and help them in which direction. If they're leaving their home, they may need help to remove the goods and services from the home.
Right.
And there are a lot of different ways to do that.
I know my sister and her husband, both of them were hoarders, and it was very difficult for the family to sort out what sort of things they wanted to keep and take with them to the senior facility.
Which is why I always suggest, and which my book is what it's all about, is what to do with your stuff and making decisions before you are caught in that type of a situation.
Right. What are the different types of senior care options?
Okay, there are actually 5 different types of senior care options. The first is staying at home, of course, and staying at home perhaps with caregivers if you need it.
Right.
The second is board and care. Board and care homes are usually private homes, about 6 residents in the home. Some of them do offer some activities. You obviously get 3 meals a day. Going to the doctor usually depends on the family rather than the facility to do that.
Oh, I've never heard of that one.
The second one would be independent living. Independent is for people who are tired of mowing the lawn and who really just not particularly happy about cooking 3 meals a day and just want a little less work to do. And some of them are just lovely. Not all provide 3 meals a day. So that's something you have to check. And the cost in the buy-in is also much heavier in independent living. And then you have assisted care. Assisted care gives you all levels of care. So if you are really pretty healthy, but you can't quite take care of yourself, you need some medical management, or maybe perhaps you haven't been feeling well, you need a little more attention. Assisted care is wonderful. They have activities every day. They sometimes take you out on excursions, very lovely excursions. You are able to socialize. Dinner, lunch, breakfast is available to you. And one of the things I always recommend when you're looking is to make sure that it's not all set at one time. Many people like to eat at different times. And that is assisted care. And then, of course, skilled nursing care requires 3 activities of daily living to even be admitted into skilled nursing. So skilled nursing will take people coming from the hospital and offers full physical therapy, occupational therapy, and sometimes you may stay in long-term care at a skilled nursing facility.
I see. So do these facilities allow you to move from one type of facility, say from independent to assisted? How does that work?
Well, there are many, many, many assisted care. They have assisted care facilities with memory care units for people with Alzheimer's.
Oh,
They
okay.
do not have independent care. They do not have skilled nursing care.
I see.
So that there are other facilities that have 3 levels. So you get
I see.
the independent, you get the assisted, and you get the nursing care. And many of the assisted care, I must say, do have different levels of care that you can purchase. So for instance, if you need medical management, that is one level. If you need somebody to dress you and bathe you, that may be an additional level.
So you first come in, you need a minimal,
Right.
and then as you need more, do you just pay more, or
Yes.
is that included?
No, for some,
Oh,
you increase that level of care,
I
and
see.
in some places, they will include it as part of the package.
I see.
So each one is very individual.
I see. So if I were looking for a facility for my loved one who has dementia or Alzheimer's disease, what would I look for that's different from someone with physical infirmities?
Very much so. That's a very important question.
Okay.
And you would look for a facility, depending on the person. So for instance, if you have an Alzheimer's patient who is really relatively healthy, but has Alzheimer's and walks and walks and walks, which many of them do, and we call them wanderers, you would not let them go into a facility that wasn't locked, because they would walk right out. There are many facilities that have alarms, but they will not take people who are wanderers. Very specific facilities will take people who are wanderers. And there are many memory units that are locked, and that could be in assisted care. In nursing care, there's only 1 or 2 really good nursing care homes that have total locked, so that people can walk around and never get lost.
Oh, I see. So if I were trying to look for something for myself or for a loved one, what would be a great senior care facility? What am I really looking for?
Well, actually, I would suggest that people call a facility. I usually give 3 different ones depending on the person, your personality, maybe what your care needs are. I will give 3 different places. I suggest that you call, you take a tour, have lunch there, see what the food is like. And they're very very anxious to do that for you, and very welcoming. And go and see, how does it feel to you? Is it cold? Do you think there are a lot of people your age there? Or are they very infirmed and you feel, well, maybe I'm not ready for this? So you really need to go and visit and see what everything is like.
I see.
I'm going to give you an example.
Sure.
I had one gentleman whose son came to see me. He was 30 years old. His father had just had a stroke, and he really didn't know where to send him.
How old was the father?
He was only in his late 60s.
I see.
Quite young. And he didn't quite know where to send his father to the nursing home when the doctor said, "Where would you like him to go?" And the care managers say this in the hospital. Your loved one is going home tomorrow at 11. Where would you like him to go? Well, obviously, we don't know a lot if we're not in that business where they should go. So he came to see me. I went to see his father, did a full assessment in the hospital, and I asked him, where would you like to go? He said outdoors. And I knew that's a pretty hard recipe to fill when you have to go to a nursing home. But I really got what he was saying. And so I told the son to go see 3 different nursing homes. One was beautiful and new and very nice care. The other one was not quite so new, but very nice and had a garden. And the third one also equally as nice, care very good. He called me the next morning and he said, oh, he's going to go to the first one. That's the prettiest. And I said, I'd like you to go back to the second one. They have a garden in where they actually feed their own community. Whatever is left, they sell to the outside community. They encourage the residents to come out to the garden. If you're up to it, you can work. If you're not, you can just sit and watch our gardeners. And this gentleman has now been there for 2 years, and he is out every single day that it is nice and he can sit in his garden.
Oh, that's a wonderful story. Now, one thing that kind of puzzles me is, what if you have a couple, you know, and they're at different stages of needing care?
Oh.
What happens then?
Great question. I actually have a number of places where I will have one in assisted care and one in skilled nursing. So the spouse in assisted care can go daily to visit the spouse in the nursing care.
Oh, do they have to pay two separate?
Yes, they do.
Oh,
They have to pay for nursing care and they have to pay for assisted care. Usually we can work with some government assistance to help that out.
Oh, I see. Now, I'm afraid to ask this question. I mean, housing in general is so expensive in the South Bay area where we live. What are the average costs of some of these senior care options?
Well, I will just say that having people come into your home runs about $18 to $25 per hour.
Oh.
If they sleep in, and then you arrange for overnight, and that's a whole different fee schedule.
Now, for someone with something like Alzheimer's or needing full nursing care, I mean, you do need someone 24/7,
Yes.
don't you?
Yes.
Oh, dear. Okay.
So board and care homes are run between $3,000 to $5,000. $3,000 to $5,000.
These kind of remind me of people with daycare
Yes.
and taking in daycare.
Well, that's true.
Similar? Are they
similar.
regulated?
They are regulated, though. They are
okay.
regulated.
Good.
And that's why I'm saying it's usually about 6 residents.
I see.
The next level, independent care, does not usually have an Alzheimer's facility or anything like that.
Right.
But independent care, for many of them, there is a buy-in. So it can be $33,000 or it can be $250,000. And then there's
I've heard higher.
and then there's also a monthly fee. And then for assisted care, it goes usually between $4,500 and $5,000 to $6,000, depending on what you need. If you need 2 bedrooms, that's much higher. So
Oh,
that can
really?
be up to $7,000.
Wow.
And then you also have, you know, you have the high end, the low end, and then skilled nursing care is $7,000 to $10,000 a month.
Oh,
And that is why there is such a large amount of skilled nursing on
Right.
government assistance.
you know, that is a lot of money. When does government assistance become available? Should people need help with paying for these facilities?
Well, I think that most people do need help paying for these facilities. Government will, in fact, 2/3 of everybody in skilled nursing today is covered under government assistance. By the way, Veterans Administration for veterans does help out in certain instances to keep people in their home and will give some kind of aid to, it's called aid and attendance, to keep people at home if they are able to stay at home. And there's many different, the laws in California allow, I should say, the government does not want the community spouse to be impoverished. There are rules and regulations that allows certain amount of money to be held in the name of the community spouse.
So what you're saying is if my husband becomes in need of nursing care, I don't have to, you know, spend all of our money
Right.
and be poverty-stricken before
Right.
he could get government assistance.
Exactly.
Oh, that's good.
And most people think, don't know that. But
Right.
that's very, very important.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and also there is many different programs out there as well to but before somebody goes into a nursing home, there's other things that one can do if you have Alzheimer's or dementia, you know, before you have to take that leap.
Yes. So nursing home is like the ultimate, you know, both in cost and
Yes.
in
Yes.
care.
Yes.
Right.
And I must admit that government assistance is not available, absolutely not available for board and care, independent or assisted care.
Oh.
Only skilled
So
nursing.
until you reach needing the highest level care, there's no government assistance that's available.
Only if you qualify for some veterans assistance.
Oh, I see.
Then you do
I
get some.
see. No, taking a different tact.
Okay.
You work as part of an integrated team in a lawyer's office.
True.
Now, I can imagine that there are a lot of synergies and advantages in knowing all the legal issues associated with having care for the elderly.
Many.
Oh.
But when people come in to see me, and they often come by referral, some of our clients, some from outside of the firm, they will come to see me. And if they don't have their proper paperwork, if they're, for instance, if their trust has not been updated in 20 years, they may need to update or put an amendment in, or if they need to do health directive.
Right.
And I do want to mention the POST. The POST is the physician's order of life-sustaining treatment. It was sent down to doctors and said that it is now available through doctors. It must be signed by a physician, and it really addresses end-of-life decisions.
I see.
And it's very important. I would encourage all your listeners to talk to their doctors about the POST.
So you're saying if I kind of know what I want at the end of life, but I don't execute a legal health directive, they do not have to follow it. Is that true? Oh,
That's
dear.
exactly true.
Okay.
And also powers of attorney.
Right.
Some people feel they can just go and just have a one-page power of attorney, and that does not give you very, very much leverage at all when you need it. So there's proper powers of attorney, healthcare power of attorney. Maybe there's a mental health issue in the family and you need to talk about special needs trusts, and also, you know, full trust issues.
Right, and I understand a living probate is very important too, because there are times when you don't have the mental capacity to make decisions, even though you may be healthy and living.
Exactly.
Oh, dear.
And that should all be included in your trust.
I see.
So that you have it written. And even if you just go into the hospital, have a surgery,
Right.
and you are in a position where you have to make decisions on a regular basis
Right.
quickly, you may need someone to make those decisions for you while you are recuperating.
I see.
So a living trust is very important.
I see. I think for most of us seniors, it's important to at least think about these things and have these things planned for, right?
I think this is very, very important.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Now, the kind of expertise that you have and the knowledge that you have is very, very important for planning. What are typically the costs associated with planning for elder care?
Well, I think that if you were coming into our office, we do not charge like many attorneys. Very often, if you attend our seminars, which are really quite good, you can get 1 hour with no charge for the attorney, and he will review your paperwork, your trust, and see if you really need anything further. And that is done with no charge. And the seminars are no charge.
Yes, I attended one of the seminars. It was
Did you enjoy it?
excellent. Yes, very much so.
Oh, great.
Yes.
I think they're very, very educational. But I
see.
think most important is that people realize that you need to educate yourself on what's out there, where to go, what to look for, attend the seminars, because emergencies happen all the time.
Right. Now, Lois, I understand you've written a book. Could you tell us about it?
And my book is going to be published in another week.
Oh.
It's called What to Do with Your Stuff, and it is actually to help seniors make decisions.
Well, when should you be doing this?
When you're in your 50s, 60s,
see.
70s, 80s.
Oh, okay.
All of us have something special. It is very exciting. It will be out and available at this time. And it is about making decisions.
The title is What
And the
to
title
Do
is
With.
What to Do with Your Stuff.
Okay, I've got a lot of stuff.
And it is a guide to decisions about personal possessions. I think we all have collectibles in the house or something that
Right.
is important. And the men do too. I think men
see.
should think about it as well if they have a fishing pole or a golf club or maybe their favorite watch, or where is it going to go when they're not here? And so often I hear, I'll leave it to my kids, let them make the decision. And the reason I started this book is because that is not a good idea. Children,
Why is that?
oftentimes children raises conflicts.
I see.
Somebody wants one thing, the other one wants the same, and then they start arguing.
I'm afraid in my family, no one wants any of it.
Don't believe that.
Okay.
Because when they go to clean up, they say, oh no, this is the book that Mom read us when we were a child, or this is the candy dish that we had when we came home from school.
I see.
I have actually had people come to my office and very angry and very conflicted, and it was really disturbing the relationship of the family. And we had to mediate and hopefully repair the damage.
I
So
see.
that I really, really encourage, and the book is about that, to encourage you to make decisions and how to do it and what you need to face. And also there's a journal at the back of the book. So you can write your decisions, write that in there, or notes to yourself. And there's some end-of-life decisions as well.
Okay. Well, Lois, this has been very pleasant. Thank you very much for speaking with us today. This has been a fascinating and useful topic for us. Many of us will want to learn more on our own. What are some of the resources we can go to?
Well, one of the places I always suggest for anybody with dementia or Alzheimer's is the Alzheimer's Association. They are really an enormous resource. Also, there are many, there's SourceWise, it used to be called the Department of Aging, now called SourceWise, that you can contact. That gives you a lot of information. One of the greatest secrets is 211. Call 211.
211.
And it is, they will direct you as to where to go for what you're looking for.
Oh, well, that's really very interesting. Well, thank you very much. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
We thank you for being with us today and hope to see you next week on The Better Part.